Today on Classroom Dynamics.
Yeah, so I guess I'm a pre-med student, so I'm taking a lot of STEM courses, and then sometimes those topics can be kind of hard to understand, so I like using it to say explain it to me as if I was a fifth grader or something, or to simplify topics, or it was really helpful during physics, for example, because I would try to do a problem, and if I got it wrong, I would try to have it explained to me, go through it step by step so I can see maybe where I went wrong,
right,
instead of having to wait to go to office hours or something. So it's just a quick
little
way.
bit of assessment.
Yeah.
Welcome to the place where ideas collide. Adam Todd's here to be your guide. For teachers and techies, tracing the spark. Classroom dynamics, where we leave our mark. Let's dive in deep, the future's bright. Innovation shines like morning light. Teachers and tech, hand in hand we go. Welcome to the Classroom Dynamics Show.
Classroom Dynamics is sponsored in part by Logitech Education, empowering student voice and creativity with innovative tools like the Logitech Reach Adjustable Content Camera and the Zone Learn headset designed specifically for student comfort and focus. Discover how Logitech is transforming classrooms at logitech.com/education. Welcome to Classroom Dynamics, the podcast where we unlock the future of education. Hi everybody, I'm your host Adam Todd. Recorded live from the Logi Work Lounge upstairs at Caroline, right in the heart of Austin, Texas, this is a special South by Southwest EDU Highlight Recap edition of Classroom Dynamics. In this episode, we're taking you deep into the heart of one of the most exciting gatherings in education and innovation anywhere in the world. You'll hear insights from multi-award-winning audiovisual professional Christopher Neto and Hawaii-based AI emerging technology educator Gabriel Yanagihara. We'll also speak with a higher education professor, a senior at the University of Texas, and a parent of two to see what their takes are on AI in education. And with all the conversation and concern around AI in schools today, some of the perspectives you're about to hear may actually surprise you. Big ideas, bold conversations, and the voices shaping what's next for learning. Our South by Southwest EDU special starts right now. We're at the Logi Work Lounge in beautiful Austin, Texas. Chilly. It is chilly.
Austin, Texas.
Surprisingly chilly. And I'm here with Chris Neto. Tell me a little bit about what you do.
Sure. My name's Chris Neto. I am the head of emerging markets at Midwich US. Midwich is a large company. We're based out of the UK. We have offices across the globe. We are one of Logi's distributors, so I'm going to be transparent there and let people know. Very familiar with your product. Just got off an episode of Unscripted with Nathan Catino.
Good guy.
On the Logi business side, and that's where we are at. We're currently sitting in Austin at Caroline's, and we're doing the Logi Work thing, and this is great. I love the idea of being at a festival that is respecting technology, music, film,
and
everything.
It's in downtown. We're not in a traditional convention center setting anymore. No. This is really cool. I do like the way you do. I like that ambiance that you hear behind us as well.
There's definitely a vibe.
Yes. So let me ask you this: with educational technology, what is your biggest sticking point right now? Something that it needs attention.
Yeah. Right now, I think one of the things that when you talk about higher ed education, universities are looking to obviously deploy a lot of things at a lot of time, and there's not enough technology and not enough budget to do everything at once. But they rapidly want to move, right? Obviously, what 2020 taught us was we got to be agile. We got to be able to move, and a lot of these universities have done a really good job since 2020 to upgrade rooms, and that's what the young folks want going into universities. They want a room that looks...
The second graders want that.
Yeah. I got two kids that have gone through the elementary school thing, and I didn't go to school when with the technology was a thing, where obviously penmanship was still in.
But when you're born into it, that's all you know. It's a whole different ballgame from people our age who had to kind of ease into it. And then, of course, like you just said, in 2020, you were fast-forwarded into it.
It's not a want anymore. It's an expectation.
Right.
And if you're going to take digital natives and put them into a space, any university setting, they expect certain things.
Right.
And what's expected these days, you're looking at AI conversations that are now becoming standard protocol in spaces.
Right.
And it's a touchy subject because AI and ChatGPT and who's doing what, and you're supposed to be very manual, and that's been how education has been taught, where it's always been, here's the lesson, now you go work on this. And yeah, the thought of having a digital assistant helping you is taboo, right? And I think that we're getting we're getting to a place where people are finally starting to understand how the two will work. Same thing with technology in the space. How much technology is too much technology versus manual? I was a former art major. The minute it started moving to the world of computers, I lost interest because I was great at black and white ink, right? I wanted to be a black and white graphic artist. That's what I was good at. I could draw it on a piece of paper. I could replicate it on a piece of paper.
But when it came to digital,
I couldn't do it.
Just didn't work.
It didn't work. And that part I saw coming early, and I found creativity in broadcast communications and went there because it was still very much so my background as a broadcast communications person, I was a radio guy. That's how I started. A friend of mine asked me to be on a radio show, and cutting up a segment and doing that sort of stuff was really cool, really creative. I can do sound effects where I can embellish.
In a respectful way, it's very artistic.
Yes.
Because you are being allowed to be creative. You're using your brain differently than that 2D paper and pencil.
Correct. So it was a good creative outlet that I made a career out of since 1998. That's when I left college and started down this path, and I entered the industry in the video conferencing space because there was no broadcast jobs. The irony of the fact that I went to broadcast because I thought it was the way to go, but there was no really broadcast jobs. And I live in New Jersey, right in the epicenter of New York, in the mecca of media capital. I couldn't get it. I wasn't going to wait. I did not want to hold somebody's spool of cable for 5 years before I would get the camera on my back. So I had an opportunity to get into the video conferencing conversation. Buddy of mine needed a technician. I was always kind of nerdy in that. I was a DJ, but I was better at pulling the amp out of the rack, replacing it on the fly, getting on the microphone, telling people.
You wanted to get your hands dirty.
Yeah. And I cut my teeth doing that early on in my career, which really helped to where I'm at today. I have the scars of being an installer. I can sell, I can talk. I'm still being very nerdy. I still get my certs. On a daily basis, I'm constantly chasing after the next certification. Become smarter because I have a hunger to understand how things work. And I think innately, as an AV person, we have that curiosity. Blend that in with a little bit of creativity, and how can we solve a problem? And then you throw in some experiential conversation, which leads us to the education conversation. Education and the way it is today, we have to be creative in how we put these spaces together because it's now expected. The students that are going into these spaces want certain things. And one of the things that I think is super hot and super, falls by the wayside, even though I'm saying it's hot, everybody wants to talk about AI in the conference room. But in order to do AI, and if you were to survey people, what do they want AI for? They want AI for two real basic things. We as AV people can tell you 100 different reasons or how AI can be great. And typically it's all about camera technology, microphone technology, following, tracking.
The hardware portion of it.
The hardware portion of it, but the end user side, it comes down to really two things that are necessary. Transcription, translation. If you were to survey everybody in this space and say, what would you use AI for? Those are probably the two things in a workspace that they're looking for.
And we were talking earlier before we came on about how voice dictation and the right equipment is going to be the most important part to help that push it along a little bit.
Correct. The good enough, which is a sore subject for me because good enough as a term to me is very defeatist. It's very much we tried and this is the best we can do. That's not AV.
You've accepted it.
Yes. That's not AV. We're not supposed to accept good enough. Because if it was just good enough, you'd walk away with your laptop and you'd go do your video. Right? Why we're in the business is because we take good enough the next level. So as we learned in the 2020, 21, 22 time, that laptop camera was okay.
True.
Brio's better. So how do we amp this up? And even in those spaces. And ultimately, what it comes down to is let's now, in the education space, how do we make it better? And every student that's there that wants a transcription of the lesson, you're not taking notes anymore. I know it's taboo to say that, but students taking notes, I had to, and I was a horrible note taker. But
Well, that's because they didn't teach us how to do it properly.
correct. Those life skills weren't taught at an early age.
Yeah.
So now you have systems that can do that for you. How important is that? That's super important. So that now goes, where can we help? Let's talk about acoustics, right? Are we still talking about cinder block conference, like not conference rooms, but classrooms? Throw some acoustic paneling on the wall. Add some better microphone technology to it. Let's look at the space from an acoustic perspective, because AV is also science. Let our engineers be scientists and use the equipment and use it properly. One microphone that is not meant to grab multiple voices, or better yet, a microphone that is meant to grab all the sound in the room may not be the proper thing when you want to focus on that single person.
Right.
Bobby in the second seat on the left,
It's going to hear something different from the kid all the way in the back.
Exactly, where Susie on the right is not going to get the same thing. And technology with AI can now identify each seat. So in order to do that, it's now a microphone that needs to be focused on that person, so that we know that Bobby said one thing and Susie said something else, and we'll track that in the transcription. Because that conversation is part of the notes. Not person one, not person two, that AI will default to. You want to now train it. You want it to tell it, I want to know, take out everything that Bobby said in classroom this morning and put that in notes. That's the value.
Right.
That's where now we as technologists can really help. And it's not just about, just steering the camera. We figured that out. Now let's really focus on the audio.
Right. Exactly. No, that's the point too.
Yeah.
Because every kid today wants to be a content creator.
Absolutely.
They want to either be a star on YouTube, or they want to have their TikToks going. And that's become part of the education.
I just met one on the way in today.
Right? So, and it's become part of the education process in a classroom almost.
Yeah.
I do media arts technology and just animation, and using Canva to create these things that we couldn't do. Forget about just a couple years ago, but when we were younger, that was probably like a Star Trek-y kind of futuristic. One day, maybe it could happen now.
Yeah.
And if you have the proper equipment, it just lends itself to everything you always wanted to do
100%.
in every curriculum area. No matter if you're teaching, social studies and history, or you're getting into the deepest of sciences, these kids can now do stuff.
Yes.
Because of that.
Correct. Yeah,
Isn't that amazing?
dude, I am 100% sold on this. I think this is where we need to be talking more. We get to show our nerdy side again, after years of just, standardization and commoditization of AV. We now get to be nerdy again and start bringing back the science roots and the creative side of our business. And it's wonderful to see. And if we can fuel the content creators with our gear, then we're doing something good. And it's not just providing a product or selling a device. We're now enabling the future of whatever that person wants to do, and that's awesome.
So what do you say to someone who says, well, I would love to do this, but I don't have the funding for it. I would love to have this to create X, Y, and Z. How do I do this now? I know it's a hard question. It's a loaded question because there really isn't an answer, but like in your experience, what would be something you could say to them?
I don't think anything is stopped by, I don't think it can be stopped. I think that innately as humans, we find a way, right? It's kind of like that, the Jurassic Park thing where, nature found a way.
Yeah.
Things evolve. I think that we kind of figure out a way to do it. And even if it meant going through 5 crappy devices to finally get to the point where I'm at, where I can say, you know what? I get this all in one device that couldn't actually do this, and now it's the size of a laptop as opposed to 5 pieces of gear. Yeah. Think about the setup you have here, what this entailed 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
You would need a studio. You couldn't bring it on the road. No, absolutely, you're right.
You rolled it out.
Yeah.
Now it's a laptop in a little box with 2 microphones. And I think that things evolve. And I think that the excuse of I don't have the money, that only stops people for a minimal amount of time. The content will be created regardless, because the need and the want is there.
You could do it right on their phones right now too.
And the best example of it will work is that first it starts as an app on your phone,
Right.
and then that's okay. But then you need to amp it up. Every TikTok person, every person who is out there content creating for YouTube or whatever started probably with just something on their phone.
They were just playing around.
Yes.
And then they get, like you said, with your career experience, you got that little taste and you got, I want to do that. That's what I like to do.
If you would have told me 15 years ago that the people that are attending an NAB, for example, would be content creators, I'm like, nobody's got money for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
NAB is content creation now. The 18-year-old that's living in their mom's basement that has 15 million viewers.
And making money, by the way.
And making money, has disposable income to go to an NAB to buy a high-end production switch, gear, whatever that may be. Whether it is, cell bonding technology so they can be, in an RV and take their show on the road and get out of their mom's basement, to high-end production gear, which used to be road cases, are now fitting in a Pelican case.
I was going to say, sometimes in your pocket now, too.
Yeah, and in your pocket. So I think everything finds a way, like the Jurassic Park thing, and we get there. So it may not be overnight, but you can't stop it. The money and the budgets will eventually happen.
Right.
And I think that what you're starting to see is a lot of, little operations that have become things. And university, higher ed especially, you go to a smaller college, got to respect them, man. Yeah. They will become what AV is in that they are magicians and wizards. They are given a handful of things. It's the Food Network Chopped thing, where you get a basket full of goods.
Make it work.
And make it work, right? They get super creative. I've walked into spaces that I'm like, how did you get this gear to work? And they're like, we had no choice.
Yeah.
This is what we had budget for. And then the next thing you know is they're talking to the manufacturers, and manufacturers are going, well, we need to take this hodgepodge and make a box out of it.
Make it legit.
Yes.
And then and that's how you step it up. And it's a perfect point, because that's how you grow. That's how you branch out. That's how you can get that equipment if you don't have the funding.
Correct. So that's where, and you see that in cultures all over the world. And it's not just in technology. Mod cultures when it comes to cars, motorcycles, bicycles. Pick anything. There is a mod group that will take that, and maybe they don't have the money to do that, but they will figure out a way to make it work. So innately, we kind of have that desire, the creatives in our industry, that we should be looking at and bringing in to work with the manufacturers, because they get it. They know what we in the AV industry,
they know how to do the hustle.
Yes,
they know how to get into the dirt, the grit, and just make it happen. Yeah.
We love to lean on people and give them labels like futurist, and they're all very fancy people that have very fancy degrees. You want the hustler. You want the hustler.
Yeah.
You want the real deal. You go to the small little places. Those guys are creating something out of nothing with gum and
That's
cellophane.
true creation. That really is true creation.
Yes.
When you can make something out of nothing, that is the truest of creations you can possibly do.
You want to see some funky stuff.
Yeah.
You go to a CES and you go into Eureka Park, where you literally got people that have now taken something that was a piece of plywood with sensors and stuff strapped to it, and have taken it to the incubator. Here we are. This is the idea. Pitching the idea. I absolutely love that at a consumer show. And that to me was my to walk CES for the first time this year and see that and see the genesis of what could come. Like those type of people that are working that stuff. And these are folks that are at university levels that are working on a concept because they want to bring a product to life. I love and respect that. There's a lot of people in the AV industry that started at that base and have moved on and now are executives in our spaces. I just love that they rekindle that. They need to go back to your garage, dude. Get your sketchbook out.
Yes.
And
don't be the pro anymore, right?
Yes,
go back to being that amateur, that person that you were when you were a kid, that thirst for, let me see what I could do and create right now.
Go back to being pirate radio. And
that's awesome.
And figure out, think about the problem. Go to your garage, come out in 3 weeks with something on a napkin and tell me how it's fixed.
I got one last question
Sure.
for you. So my biggest tagline lately has been, especially to parents who are not really happy with AI or they're not comfortable yet. And we can agree, we all understand why, and it's totally understandable. But my biggest tagline has been, innovation isn't optional anymore. What do you say to that?
That parent that has an iPhone in their pocket, remind them that was not a corporate accepted device in the world of BlackBerry many years ago.
It's true.
And that morphed into the reliable device that they use every day, and that was not supposed to happen. And it became something. So
perfect example of innovation kind of nudging their way, nosing their way into their life.
And Apple will be the first to tell you that iPhone was not meant for the corporate space. It was just supposed to be a device that kind of just merged music. It allowed you to save some files and take some pictures.
But one idea from that multiplied into another, tripled into another, quadrupled into another, which now is morphing into AI.
Yeah, it becomes a blueprint for whatever else we got moving on. And the funny thing is that AI typically right now, most of it is going to be on your phone more so than a PC.
Right.
So,
and even so, when the iPhone first came out, those people who are adults now were kids.
Yeah.
And they're the ones now who are saying, oh, wait, I can do something and make it better. I can add an app. I can do this. I can do that now. Right? It starts to almost expand their universe just because of that one little invention that happened.
All they wanted to do was leave their Walkman at home and have one device in their pocket. So think about that. They were
Walkman,
leaving,
oh my God.
their CD Walkman.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah, now
CD. I was thinking about the cassette one when I was a kid.
No. I mean, yes, the cassettes were important, but at the time of the iPhone, it was, I want to leave my CD book with my 150 CDs at home, and I want it all on just one device. Right. And here's the MP3, and bring it onto, let's bring it onto the phone because that's what's in your pocket. How many devices did that phone, and it doesn't matter if it's Apple or if it's Android, how many devices did that replace?
Right.
Tell your parents that before they tell you how bad it is, and work with it as opposed to fight it.
Exactly.
And I think that's the best advice I can give.
I think you hit it right on the head. Is just work with it, but don't fight the upstream because it's never going to work. And these kind of things are just going to be pushing into our life no matter what. It's not stopping.
Absolutely.
Chris, thank you for stopping by. Love the conversation.
Thank you,
You're
sir.
an awesome guest. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All
Man.
right.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Back at the Logi Work Lounge, upstairs at Caroline's at the South by Southwest Conference in Austin, Texas. Today I am sitting with Gabriel Yanagihara, who was amazing yesterday at his presentation on AI. You are from Hawaii, which is pretty cool to start, so let's start with that, right? Tell us a little bit of background of how this all came to be with AI in Hawaii and with you personally.
Yeah, thank you so much for approaching me after the talk. It's great to connect with people out here, and that's the main reason I'm out here is to connect with other educators like yourself to learn about this new wave that we're all riding in on. For our school, the journey really started in that December, like right when ChatGPT 3.5 came out, 2022. Our head of school really made a powerful statement early on that said, we know this is going to change the world. We're not going to shy away from it. We're a school of innovators. We're going to try it. We're not going to ban it. We're not going to block it. Any teachers who want to try it, we'll get you an account. We'll figure this out together. And it really opened the doors and allowed us the permission to fail, the permission to innovate, to play, to just experience this new wave of technology with our students very early on. Because leadership knew, it felt really good as a teacher to have our institution tell us, we know people are going to mess up. We know that's part of learning. This is what we teach our students every day.
That's
we give
true.
You permission to do it as well.
That is true. No, and it's a great point because I think sometimes people don't understand that an educational setting, a school setting, is meant for that in all aspects, not just AI. That's a learning environment, so that when you do have to go out on your own, you have the tools necessary to be able to do that.
Yeah, and it was really that feeling that the school was able to provide me as a teacher was really exciting because I was born and raised on Maui. I'm from Hawaii. I was born there. I was born 100 yards from the shore, behind a plantation house. For me, the first interaction with technology was dial-up. And this was years later. I grew up hanging out on the beach, no technology, nothing like that. And having that view, almost like Moana, my entire lived experience was the horizon of the ocean. Right. I didn't know anything was past that.
Literally.
And then I got to see from connecting to the internet and connecting with this new technology, which was very disruptive, to be able to know there's a whole world out there.
Right.
And I've lived with that experience with technology the rest of my life. Everything from social media to smartphones to anything else. I'm excited, I'm curious, and I want to try it with my students.
So what do you say to other teachers that might be a little skeptical? I don't want to get into that. I don't want to try it. I don't want anything to do with it. What do you say to teachers first?
I think for me...
Right, because you do a lot of professional development, right?
Yeah,
so
I do
how do they react sometimes if there's someone in that audience that you kind of getting a sense that they're like not really on board yet?
I think a lot of it, for me as an educator, when I speak to other educators, I try to connect them back to what did we feel like when we were kids? You have to connect with that inner childhood of yourself, that curiosity, because I truly believe that the cure for fear is curiosity. Our willingness and our ability to go out there, try something new, be curious about it. Not so much the fear of the secondary effects,
right,
which is unfortunately what adulthood kind of ingrains in all of us.
It's true.
Yeah. Fortunately, living in Hawaii gives me a lot of opportunity to kind of rekindle with my childhood, go play on the beach, go hike, live an amazing life as an educator.
First of all, I'm jealous of that, so yes, I agree 100%. So now let's switch the thought process from teacher to parent. How do you explain this to a parent? You obviously have a school, like you're a K-12, you're a private school, you've been given that opportunity to go, play, fail, retry again. You gave a really good example of surfing at the presentation. How do you connect that to a parent who might be a little bit wary and they're not really too comfortable, or they just simply don't want their kid to be involved or have anything to do with AI?
I would say when I'm dealing with, speaking to parents about that, our school is very fortunate in that we have a very good trusting relationship with our parent communities. We're very transparent. We're like, here's where we're at. Here's this new, we are working in innovation. We're a very forward-thinking school. We're a technology school. We see this wave off on the horizon, and it's going to crash over everything. It's like a tsunami-sized wave coming for all of workforce, all of everything. And luckily, with our community here, we have a 3-year head start on everyone, because while everyone else is banning these tools and blocking it and trying to kind of hide away from it and stay on shore, we want and we hope that you'll trust us to go out into the reef, go out into the lineup, surf, wipe out, learn alongside your students, so that when the wave comes, everyone is suddenly looking at a school like, wow, how is Iolani doing this? They're doing all these cool tricks and they're surfing all over the wave that's coming. And we're like, no, you didn't see the 3 years of struggle,
right,
of wiping out with the students, of having me as a computer science, intro game design teacher, seeing students, as a teacher, having that apple in my throat, that frog in my throat when I see it. Wow, that student just used AI to do a 3-week project that I gave them in 15 minutes. I have to throw away my entire curriculum and start over, and having the bravery and the support and the trust from my leadership and the trust from our school to be able to do that. And yep, I'm going to reinvent it. I just redo it all from scratch and figure this out together.
Do you have to give parents almost these ideas to do at home so that you have that bridge, that communication and that support from the family portion of it?
One of the things our leadership has done more recently as well is we have a thing called a coffee talk. The head of the school will sit down and have a blunt conversation about the state of the school, what we're working with, and all the parents can come and ask questions, open mic, and just have those conversations. So that has been really good in building trust, building community around the school. And our parents are so involved anyway that it's almost we call a thing called coconut wireless in Hawaii, where you don't need to do an official announcement. Everyone knows. The aunties all talk, so everybody knows. Anything happening, anything communicates, right? They talk about it.
We're by the bar, and that's why we're hearing a lot of noise today.
Yeah, this is a lively session.
Yeah, just not to deviate here, but the Logi Work place right now is just off the chart. There's so many people here right now. So let me ask you, when teachers start to think about, okay, I have to teach my curriculum, and they start to think about how can I infuse technology into it, what are some really good projects that teachers could use that is not something where a kid can say, hey, I want you to write me a 500-word paper on whomever. It's something else that brings AI in, but in a more safer, almost more creative way.
So even before, I really trust that the teachers are innovative. The teachers know their craft really well. They're going to find really good ways of using AI once they're comfortable with it and once they're not seeing it as a fear, right? Once you're over the fear and you're curious, you're going to start coming up with tons of ideas. One of the ways I kind of help people whether it's businesses or organizations, leadership, get over that fear, is to start using the tools not in part of your workday. Right? Use it for a personal project, personal life. One of the workshops I give, I have people write down a problem or challenge in the community or a personal goal or dream that they have. And it cannot be related to work. It's really hard for educators to do this, right? Because our lives are education. What is something that you've always wanted to do in life, you haven't done so yet, and it cannot be anything to do about the subject that you teach or your role as an educator. Write that down, put it into Google Gemini or ChatGPT or any AI that you want, and say, here's who I am. Here's my school, this is what I do, this is what I teach, here's my personal goal or dream. Give me a 6-month plan to achieve it, with week-by-week plans and everything that I need to do to do this. And you'd be amazed that it just gets rid of the friction of getting started. And of course, I'm a middle school teacher, so I'm going to give them homework. Yeah. So the homework I give all the teachers and everyone is that at the end of the day, when you're tired, when you finish grading 30 papers, 50 papers, 90 papers, you have to open up that chat with the AI and tell it, what did you do towards your goal and personal dream? Right. Even if it was nothing. So now every teacher, every educator has an AI agent, like an AI thought partner to help fundamentally either improve their lives or change their community if they just keep working towards it. You may not achieve your goal in 6 months, but man, you're going to be 6 months closer than where you were before. And by the time you get there and the 6 months are passed, or not even that, like a week has passed, you're going to be having all these other ideas like, wow, I understand how this technology works now. Here's how I could use it for this. I could be making a custom chatbot with guardrails that helps my students at 3 a.m. when I'm not available to help them. I can put all my syllabus and grading into a custom chatbot. I can do a notebook LM for all the content that I have and create differentiated learning experiences for my students. The biggest thing that's changed for me as an educator is that it's allowed me to hyper-individualize content for all of my students. So before I would, larger projects, 3-week project, I would give them a very structured framework of what to build.
And now we have the sirens going by. We've had everything today, so.
So having that experience where was I? The sirens got crazy. So one of the cool things that I've been able to do as an educator is that each one of my students, when they have a project idea, I can say, yes, let's do it. And I can modify and adjust my curriculum to support that student. And on
the spot almost.
On the literally 30 seconds in, the kid, a student will tell me, like, we're doing an XY variable, like graphing game kind of thing. Like, awesome, but I want to do this type of game instead. It covers the same, I know the learning objective, it matches the same. In the past, I'd be like, oh, sorry, I need you to make the same video game as everyone else in the coding class, so I can pull it all together. Now I'm like, okay, cool. ChatGPT or Gemini, here's a full lesson plan for you on the side, here's a podcast, here's a video tutorial, here's a bunch of art assets. I can have the AI generate a bunch of examples for them. Here you go. You're curious, I support you, go for it.
Yeah, and now you're really differentiating the differentiation that you started differentiating in the first place when you first made that original lesson plan.
It's amazing what we've been able to do.
And what I just said, you understood.
It's crazy because every educator thrives to support their students' ideas, but we run into these limitations of literally time in the day, resources, stuff like that. What I found with what convinced me as an educator in the AI world is that I have so much more agency as an educator now to be able to expand the scope of what I want to do. Because in the past, especially in the humanities, you're really overworked as an educator. Like, you have so many essays to grade, you have so much to do. The idea of throwing away an existing lesson plan and starting over or adjusting it to current trends,
fear to people.
Is a lot of work. Like, you physically could not do that years ago. But now, I'm doing a lesson, I'm like, okay, I want to do, there's some examples where a teacher used AI to rewrite Shakespeare and emojis and Riz and stuff like that.
That's pretty cool.
So that they could have a translation. Like, okay, here's some examples that AI helped me generate. You're going to read your Shakespearean quote, you're going to translate it to English, the analysis of it, and then now you also got to use only emojis to explain it. And I'm a teacher. I don't know how to read emojis like that all the time. So then you make a custom chatbot. We use Magic School AI or Google Gemini custom gems. Students can put in their work there, and as an educator, I can put in the students' work in there, and then get a summary of what the emojis mean in relation to everything else. So it lets me speak their language, and it takes me less time to grade and support that project than it did for me to try and even do that in the past.
Amazing stuff. I mean, honestly, you are definitely one of those innovators that you're bringing it to you're bringing that real world into the classroom more so than we probably ever could in the past, and that's a great bridge for those kids when they go to college and into the workplace. It's a big plus on their side, and it's a feather in your cap because you're bringing that to them. You're being that vehicle between those two places. So that's amazing. Kudos to you.
Yeah. One of the challenges that I see in the communicating of this success is that people tend to see, oh wow, Iolani's doing this amazing work with AI space. We should just, if we do what they do now, it'll be great. They're the light at the end of the tunnel. We know someone has this kind of figured out. They're leading the charge on this. Let's just do what they do. Not knowing
because
that
a lot of schools are starting now.
They're starting now. Yeah. We're not out of the woods yet. Right, we're still learning and failing every day. We're in that pathway, and you cannot expect whatever journey you have, even if you see that blueprint, you see that example, that you're not going to have the same hurdles along the way. But all I can really provide as an educator, and the reason I'm out here talking is because I can show you there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There are amazing educators doing amazing work with AI. There's a lot of families doing really extra support with AI tools. There are people who are figuring this out right now. So it is possible. And that makes the play so good, right?
Exactly.
It gives you permission to play even more than we got, because we'll figure this out. It's not a if we'll figure it out, it's a when and how.
Yeah, if you go back just 3 years ago when you started, it was kind of like you heard these little rumblings about AI, like, oh wait, what do you mean I could write a lesson plan and change it on the spot? What do you mean I could do? And it's now evolved into almost everything that we're doing. Even the kids. It's an amazing thing. Thank you for coming by. I really appreciate the insight, just because you have had that experience, and not a short-term experience. You've had some legwork in this, and when you bring that experience into it, I think it gives a lot of educators and parents alike that calmer feel and understanding, like it's going to be okay.
It's going to be okay. And to all the other educators out there and all the parents out there, I am still learning as well. There are new, I'm here at South by. I've learned 10 new ideas that I want to bring back to the classroom, bring back to our AI lab, bring back to our community at Iolani School. So if you're an educator, you've tried something crazy, you made a ton of mistakes, please reach out to me. I want to hear those stories, and who knows, maybe you'll end up on a beach with me to teach me how to do something cool with AI. So come hang out with me in Hawaii.
It's a good point too, because if you really think about it, we are modeling in real time, right? This is really happening in our world. We are modeling what it's like to try, probably fail, retry, probably fail again, and then keep that process going until we start to get it and start to move forward. And I think that's part of being an educator. You're modeling that for the kid. You don't want the kids to think, oh, I'm going to get it the first time every time. That's just not reality. You're going to struggle sometimes, and a productive struggle is a good struggle, right?
Yeah, and I love that. I love that we're learning alongside our students. This is one of those waves of technology that we all have to paddle onto this wave together. So it's not like, okay, kids, you got to figure this out, but I'm not going to figure this out. Like I'm being forced to learn alongside you,
and the kids like that. They like seeing that. They like seeing you struggle a little bit too.
They love it.
It's true. Thank you for coming by.
Thank you so much.
I really
for having
appreciate it. Awesome guy. Go check him out. Tell everyone where they can go to find out more about you too.
Yeah, I'm online all over the place. Find me at GabrielYanagihara.com. Email me, reach out, Instagram, everything. Hope to hear from you all soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
Attention educators, meet the Logitech Zone Learn, the classroom headset designed for learners and built for schools. Engineered for comfort and durability, the Zone Learn delivers crystal clear audio, helping students focus and fully engage during lessons, group projects, and online learning. Built to last, its modular design adapts to any classroom setting and ensures a reliable, distraction-free learning experience. With Zone Learn, your students can hear the difference, which helps boost learning. For more information, visit logitech.com/Zone Learn.
We're back at the Logi Work Lounge at South by Southwest, and we're here with Prisha from the University of Texas. Welcome to Classroom Dynamics.
Thank you.
This is really cool because I kind of want to hear your perspective as a college-age person with artificial intelligence and how you're using it. So before we even get into any of that kind of stuff, what is your go-to for AI?
Yeah, probably ChatGPT.
ChatGPT.
Or so UT students, I think, get free Gemini Pro. So I think a lot of students also use that, but I use Chat.
So now, when you talk about like artificial intelligence and all the things that you're doing with it, when you go to say to yourself, okay, I'm going to you make that conscious decision, I'm going to use artificial intelligence now. What is it that is the thing you go to all the time? Is it a brainstorming? Is it just to prompt to get a little bit more information? How do you actually use it at your age in your college career? You said you're a senior. We were talking before we came on.
Yeah.
So you've used it probably a little bit now. And when you first started college, it wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so it's evolved over your college career now. So what is it that you go to and use it for?
Yeah, so like I guess like I'm a pre-med student, so I'm taking like a lot of STEM courses, and then sometimes those topics can be kind of hard to understand, so I like using it to like say explain it to me as if I was like a 5th grader or something, or like to like simplify topics. Or like it was really helpful during like physics, for example, because like I would try to do a problem, and if I got it wrong, I would try to have it explained to me, like go through it step by step so I can see maybe where I went wrong,
right,
instead of having to wait to like go to like office hours or something. So it's just like a
little bit of assessment.
Yeah.
Okay, so now have you used like Google Notebook LM?
I have not.
Ooh. You have to go and check out Google Notebook LM. It is probably one of the coolest things I have seen in a very long time.
I've never heard of it.
So my daughter is going to school for nursing.
Yeah.
And they're playing pool behind us, and a ball just came flying by. I don't know if you heard that bouncing around, but that was from the pool table. So she's going for nursing, and what I'm trying to get her to do is use Google Notebook LM to take, you could actually take any kind of resource. It could be your notes. It could be a YouTube video. It could be a textbook. And you literally can put in all of your sources, as many as you want. And you could actually have it create a podcast for you where two people who don't exist are talking about exactly the sources you put in. So we're not talking about pulling in from the world. We're talking about just pulling in from the sources that you had. It could be from your professor's notes. Anything that your professor gives you and you know you're going to have a test for, you could actually listen to that in your car. You could listen to that while you're on the treadmill at the gym and actually study that way as well. You can create, my goodness, everything from like notes to graphic organizers, all from just your sources.
Well, yeah.
You have to try that out.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Really
that's a really good one.
Because I also like to like take all the PowerPoints. Like if I'm studying for an exam, I would just put it into chat because they're all like PDFs or PowerPoints, and then I would say, give me a comprehensive summary or like bullet points to like go through.
Right.
So I can use it as kind of like a study guide.
Put that same PowerPoint now into Google Notebook LM. It will blow your mind. And and you're young, so it's not going to blow your mind as much as it will blow my mind at my age. But it will definitely. You're going to look at it and go, oh, now it's going to give you different ways you can use your sources to actually kind of learn on the go and in a quicker way, so to speak. But it is just so pinpoint because again, it's not pulling in from the whole World Wide Web. It's pulling in just for what you gave it.
I know,
so the guardrails are already almost there, and it narrows down exactly the specifics that you want. And when you can hear that, a lot of people do learn just by listening sometimes. And if you're doing something, you're doing laundry or you're cleaning your room or whatever it is you're doing, you could actually be listening to that stuff.
Yeah, that's super helpful.
In this like little like nutshell, but you're getting all the specifics because it's what you put into it.
Right.
So that's a good one. So let's go back to AI, right? So you're using AI. Are you using it to prepare yourself for the workforce, or is it just to get you through college now, and then you'll see what happens down the line?
I mean, I feel like right now it's helping me with my classes and like understanding concepts, but honestly, like maybe for like interviews and things like that, sometimes I've had it like ask me questions that like maybe this type of interview could ask me so I can prepare for that. Or maybe like look at my resume, is there any like grammar mistakes or things like that? Yeah, so like I could use it in the future as well, but right now it's primarily for my classes.
So with your future profession, do you see that infiltrating even more so now because of it?
I think so. I know like a lot of people also use it to like for like email writing and like writing professionally, because I feel like it's not as emphasized like taking all these classes to learn like professional skills. Right now it's just like kind of learn these concepts.
Right.
And so I feel like, some people might just go to chat and they might like start, learning how to do all that. And then, are you asking like how AI will like affect like my future career?
In your particular future career, do you think that there's going to be something where you're going to have to almost rely on it to get you through or get your job done the way you can kind of envision it in your head?
I feel like with medicine, there's like certain specialties, like maybe like radiology and like pathology, where like I think there's research being done where it's given images and stuff and AI is helping them like diagnose.
Picking it up a lot quicker, right? Yeah.
Yeah, because definitely like if they can like accurately like pinpoint like different, I don't know, like diseases or something like that, that could like definitely change medicine. So I feel like, you know, maybe more radiologists might rely on that, or, you know, who knows, maybe it would take over. Like,
what do you say to the people that say it's going to take my job then?
I feel
Because
like
you're in it now. You're preparing to be in it. So
Yeah.
what do you say to those people?
I feel like at the end of the day, like AI is just what you give it, and like, you know, it takes from like outside sources and stuff, and the outside sources are usually like humans. So I don't think it would like completely overtake, you know, like the workforce, because at the end of the day, like humans are the ones like
You're gonna have to analyze it anyway,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly. Like humans are the ones building it and stuff, and like you can't like take away, you can't replicate a human's like either like, I don't know, with medicine, like emotions. Like I think that's a big factor, like, you know, talking to patients and stuff, making sure they feel comfortable. Yeah, sure, like medicine, you can like diagnose someone, like this is the treatment you should be doing, but then there's that other aspect of like human to human connection. So
yeah, because I think that, you know, when you get into the workforce, I think a lot of the fear from parents, and I'm talking about parents who might be in like elementary school, or you know, because now they're thinking, okay, well, my kid's going to grow up in this world, and it's probably going to be a whole lot scarier or better, you know, given however this plays out over the next, you know, say 10, 12 years when they go through college and get into the workforce. And I think a lot of that fear is kind of preventing them from kind of accepting it a little, at least a little bit at a time. But do you see in, obviously you see in your career, your future career, that it could be useful, but is there something there that you might kind of question still a little bit about it because we're still in that infancy stage of AI?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I noticed is that, like, you know, comparing me to like my younger cousins, like I didn't like grow up with AI. Now I have it, but then they have it at this young age.
They're in it.
Yeah, they're in it, and it's like so interesting to see, because like now, like I feel like, you know, some students rely on it so much that like without it they might like be a little lost, and I'm like a little like averse to that one.
Yeah.
Like I feel like, you know, we need to build up those foundational skills and use AI as like a supplementary tool and not like as our like primary resource.
Right. So what do your younger family members think about it? Like when they say AI, when they hear AI, how did they perceive it?
Yeah, like, you know, I think homework help.
Yeah.
Like, you know, help me write my essay, things like that. And I'm like, man, we got to learn how to first maybe have like an outline or a draft or something, and then ask it to edit if you want like some supplementary stuff, but don't like completely like just like,
it shouldn't be the be all and end all tool. It should be the support tool.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And do you think that teachers in younger grades need to start to work on that with prompting or reprompting, so that when they get to your age and that level of schooling, that it's kind of embedded in there where it's being used appropriately?
Yeah, I think so. Like some of my professors, like, you know, I've been in classes where like AI is not allowed, like don't use it for anything. You know, you might get reported or flagged. But then there are some professors who are like, you know, I think AI is like cool, like
open arms.
Yeah,
come
like
on in.
you can use it, but as long as you're kind of using it as like a supplementary tool, and like if I can't tell, then like they're like it'll be okay. But like for like my younger cousins and stuff, I feel like, you know, I feel like maybe they shouldn't be like promoting it that much, but instead like helping them first foster these like foundational skills and then introduce AI into their learning.
So old school, quote unquote, first, right? And then get into the technology support tool like format where they could then rely and go back and forth with it.
Because I think a big thing that maybe AI takes away is creativity. And it's just like, once you start relying on that, then you start thinking like, oh, I can't think of anything, let me just go use like ChatGPT or something, and it's like, I don't know, it kind of sucks.
It's a perspective that I'm glad you brought up, because I think that does happen. You know, I don't know if it's happening to the younger kids, because I'm not sure they are there yet, but I think kids who are in that maybe junior high school level are starting to maybe turn to that a little bit. And that is something that a pitfall that we have to look into going forward. So Prisha, thank you for coming by. This was awesome. I love to hear the perspective of actually a student who's using it and actually going through it and kind of and the fact that AI has evolved with you is kind of cool to get that perspective. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we're here with Kirk. He is an educator. You're more in the higher education sector of education. We're not talking about elementary school or middle school kids. What are you seeing lately that is becoming like a point that you're like, oh my gosh, we have to pivot. Something's changing here.
I guess recently is the last couple of years, but writing and how we evaluate writing. So I work kind of in a writing center capacity, but I also have TA'd for courses where it's heavy, intensive writing, and there's just a higher and higher dependence on AI, and it has kind of shaped the writing process itself, but also kind of how we evaluate, what is writing, and it's shifted from where, we can tell ChatGPT, Claude, a lot of these LLMs are being used heavily for writing, but we can't really be super upset because it's used in industry, and I think a Stanford study a couple of years ago showed that like 30% of recent papers in the CS space were flagging for a lot of AI writing kind of flags, and it's tricky to deal with because you can't identify it at an individual level. You can look at observational trends over thousands and thousands of data points. But yeah, we're kind of shifting now to like how can we use AI as a writing assistant and how we can enable it. Human AI teaming is the whole kind of new aspect, and it's shifted a lot of traditional writing techniques, so it's been a fun time.
Do you find yourself having to teach the kids per se how to do it properly, or are you feeling at that age they're starting to figure out on their own?
I think college, they're pretty good about using it collaboratively. There was actually a study that recently came out, and I'll plug Virginia Tech, to CHI 2026, the Conference for Computer Human Interaction, and I want to say they found that majority of students use it in a collaborative method. Very few were just kind of straight shotting it using fully AI to do their writing.
Which I think is what happened in the beginning, right? I think everyone figured, okay, I can get away with this. Let me just have it write my 500-word essay.
Well,
right?
especially you're doing like and this is where it's shifted, I think, how we teach. You're doing like a Canvas 3-sentence response. It's kind of silly to begin with. I think it just showed that the curriculum had some area for improvement. But yeah, it's a lot of older students are starting to use it kind of more collaboratively for feedback. I use it for feedback, tone. But I think we have to be careful with young students to make sure that they're not developing these skills at all. It's a way to help and assist, but in terms of creation, I think, studies have shown that it's hard to tell when it is AI writing if you're comparing two different samples, but it's not about just the evaluation of what it is, but the process. So I think that's where we're shifting a lot, where it's maybe we're evaluating the writing process rather than the outcome.
Right. I think and you kind of hit the nail on the head with it, because when my daughter was writing her college essays, I specifically said to her, obviously you have to write it yourself. You can't use AI to write it for you, but what can we use AI to do to help us enhance what you've already done? So that formative feedback, that self-assessment in a nutshell, in one big glob monster there, and it worked. And I think she was able to see that extra step of the writing process. I wrote it myself, being her. I edited it myself, being her, and then now I used the AI just to help me see if there was a spot where I could maybe make it a little bit better, or maybe I was saying things too many, similar ways along, throughout the essay, and I wanted to kind of nip that back a little bit. I think that if kids start to understand how to use it for their own self-assessment as a tool, that has to be a feather in anyone's cap.
Yeah, there's sometimes a little critique right now within the computer science or research area that there's a lot of studies on how humans kind of interact with AI, especially LLMs, and a lot of people are saying we need to go back to foundational AI benchmarks and developing models, and that is important. But I think equally important is this is a completely new technology we don't understand, and we don't have ideal frameworks for how to integrate it. Everyone has their kind of ad hoc strategies. And I think it's great that we're seeing more and more studies now seeing okay, we've tested this empirically, what were people thinking? And whether that's writing, interviews is a big thing, tech interviews. There's a lot of different ways to kind of implement AI. Personally, I use it a lot for research stage is really great. Consensus.
That brainstorming portion of it too?
Brainstorming, you'll feed it a couple ideas and you'll say maybe this is what I'm interested in. Do you have any angles? And it can help with that. I think it's still not quite for the hard hitting stuff as good as people. but accessibility for a lot of people, like maybe they don't have access to experts. But yeah, I think it's a phenomenal tool. I think to not use it is just like being a laggard, as they say, in the adoption rate.
Do you ever hear the kids talking about how they're using it in ways and what they're seeing and what their ideas of what is working for them and may not be working?
Yeah, I think for younger kids, from my experience talking with them, unfortunately, I think I see a lot of them using it as they take it as gospel. And I think that's the danger is
right.
Once you've developed these skills, you understand the shortcomings. But I think a lot of older people who've developed these skills, they recognize kind of the whole idea now is the 2020s. I think Andre Karpathy said is like the age of agentic AI, where we're getting them to do specific roles. And I think that is where it's not generalizable AI, so it should be able to do every task, but how can we kind of get it to do certain tasks? So I think a lot of people are already doing that, where they identify research tools where it maybe parses through research. You can ask it a question, it gives you answers, or iterating your actual questions to final touches on does tone and all that sound right.
What do you think about prompting with college-age kids? Are they getting the hang of that, or is it something that's going to need work with, especially as you're maybe backtracking, going through high school or junior high school or even elementary schools? There are elementary schools in the United States that are testing this out. Is that something that you're seeing maybe long-term that will be affecting them in some sort of way?
Yeah, I can't speak on any studies offhand. From my personal experience, I think kids are almost sometimes a little better at using it because they're asking questions, they're prompting it like you would a person, and getting some of the details is something you learn, make sure to include it in this style. But a lot of studies that have used LLMs, the results are sometimes a little skewed, and they've noted, regardless of field, it's because people who are used to traditional query engines like Google, they'll say restaurants near me, Mexican food, ChatGPT doesn't understand that. But there's a lot of stuff that just comes out every day. I think a study recently showed that if you ask, I think it was Claude, or DeepSeek, if you ask it a question and then repeat the question, they found better results in evaluation of that answer. So it's small stuff.
So more or less a prompt and then a reprompt.
Yeah, and I can't remember exactly. I'm not going to pretend I'm the technical expert, but I want to say it was all of these transformer models are kind of contextual embeddings, and I think it's able to form stronger kind of idea of what you're asking. So that's the new hack that Twitter tech is pushing, is prompt what you want twice to get a better result.
It's great advice, to try out anyway. Kurt, thank you for the time. It's really nice to have that perspective of the higher education level. Appreciate the time.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Attention educators, meet the Logitech Zone Learn, the classroom headset designed for learners and built for schools. Engineered for comfort and durability, the Zone Learn delivers crystal clear audio, helping students focus and fully engage during lessons, group projects, and online learning. Built to last, its modular design adapts to any classroom setting and ensures a reliable, distraction-free learning experience. With Zone Learn, your students can hear the difference, which helps boost learning. For more information, visit logitech.com/Zone Learn. Back here at the Logi Work Lounge upstairs at Caroline's. So I have Anton here, who is a parent, and obviously your kids are using AI, right?
Yeah.
What are their ages?
21 and 17.
21 and 17. So they were coming into technology as youngsters, and as they got a little bit older, then AI started to infiltrate a little bit.
Yeah.
What is your thought process on allowing them or not allowing them to use the technology?
So I'm for it. I've always been tech forward. And, my son had a stint there where it was all about coding. So he was doing coding, he was learning coding. I thought it was the coolest thing.
Which is very close to
it's very
AI
close to
use
AI.
in terms of the thought process and the prompting.
Right. And so that lasted maybe a year where they were teaching in the school, probably 2 years, but everything behind it, the push behind it, probably a year. And then it transitioned to AI. I'm for it. Once a week, once every 2 weeks, I send my son a different AI dev app to try out. I tell him just
play
with it.
Yeah.
They can get it easier than we can. When I started diving into AI, I was afraid. I was this, I was that, but I didn't want to get left behind.
Right.
And
you don't want them to be left behind either in terms of in where they are in their educational career as well.
Right. But with me, it's a curve, right?
Yeah.
It's a definite learning curve. But with them, they seem to.
It's very intuitive, right?
They
just
get
kind of do it.
They just kind of
right?
do it and get it.
No one really holds their hand and says, "Hey, here's how you do it."
No.
But a lot of kids can do that on their own. They just pick it up and they just say, "Hey, I'm just going to use it."
It's just evolution.
Right,
I think,
exactly.
I think that's how it is. That's how it works. That's why I believe in AI being the wave of the future. Again, like I said, AI is going to turn people into billionaires, not millionaires.
That's right.
Right? And people need to get behind it. Parents should get behind it. I was talking to a friend earlier. I know he's told his kid to stop using AI because he used it for so many things in his daily life that when it came to a real test, he failed it. He bombed it. He didn't have AI as a backup. Right. So I can definitely see that. We just, when it comes to the education system, we just have to teach these kids the right way to use it.
Right. So that's actually the question I was going to ask you. Have you ever had that conversation with your kids about ethical use or when to use it or how to use it or anything along those lines that would say, "Hey, I got to stop and think for a second about using it"?
Yeah. No, not until now, because I didn't even know to ask those questions. About a week ago, I did go to a panel where it's called Burden of Proof, and lawyers were talking about the ethical use of AI.
Right.
And that sparked my interest, and that's what got me going on the use of AI. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't even thought about the ethical use of it. And so I haven't brought that up to my kids at all.
Right.
Yeah, I just want them to grasp hold of it, take it, run with it, and get the
use
most
it as
out
a
of
tool
it.
that because obviously when they go to college, that's going to be a thing. I mean, they're going to have to use it at some point. So what if you were to talk to a parent who wasn't sure if it was okay for their kid to be using it or trying it, what would you say to them in terms of not using it or using it?
I would say right now it's inevitable. You're not going to stop it, and those who don't do it will be left behind. Right now, the benefit outweighs whatever they're scared about.
Yeah.
So I would just tell them to dive into it, have their kids dive into it, monitor it as much as possible if you want. Guide them, you learn. I know it's a pain. I've had to learn, and there's days I've literally had migraines or headaches trying to figure out AI. And it's crazy to me because I've always been tech forward.
Yeah.
But I see.
And soon they're going to be able to teach you.
Exactly.
For sure.
For sure. I see kids and they get it like a duck in water, right?
Yeah.
They just can do it. Yeah.
It's true. And you're right. You hit it on the head. You have to use it or at least get introduced to it and start to play around with it just to get the idea of what it's going to be like. Because workforce is going to come at some point or another, and they're going to have to know how to use it. Because let's face it, most careers now are using AI.
Yes. Most careers, jobs, to get jobs, they're using AI. They're using AI to throw out resumes. So, a normal person just doesn't have what it takes to go up against AI.
Right.
So you have to use AI. We're being forced to use AI.
Yeah.
There's nobody looking over 110 resumes these days. They're putting it through a system. AI's looking at it, and they're pushing out whatever the job description doesn't like, keeping in what it does, and then maybe it makes it to the next level.
Right.
And so you have to. We're being forced to use AI. It is the way of the future.
I was just going to say
inevitable.
that it is how it's going to be, and we have to. If you're not embracing it, at least. Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Think about it. Billionaires, not millionaires. AI is going to create billionaires.
Yeah.
Really, a lot of them.
Yeah.
So.
And as a parent, that's got to be exciting for you if your kid can figure out how to use it the right way and really use it to their advantage. So maybe have that chance to be a billionaire, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. Listen, thank you for stopping by. I love the parent perspective. We always like different perspectives, and I think the parent perspective is right now the hardest one to battle through and to kind of grasp. But so thank you for joining us today.
Thanks.
Well, that's a wrap on this episode of Classroom Dynamics. I hope today's conversation sparked something meaningful for you, maybe a new idea, a fresh perspective, or just a little boost of motivation to take back to your classroom. Remember, it's never too late to strengthen your craft, and if there's ever a moment to re-energize your work, why not make it today? I'm Adam Todd, and you've been listening to Classroom Dynamics, a teacher podcast. Follow us on X at Class Dynamics and on Instagram at Classroom Dynamics Podcast. If you haven't already, go to your favorite podcast platform like Apple Podcasts or Spotify and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. We'll be back soon with more captivating conversations, inspiring stories, and strategies that you can implement into your everyday routines. Until then, keep that spark alive and never underestimate the incredible impact you have as an educator. You're more powerful and inspirational than you think. Did you miss our episode Beyond Yet, How to Create a True Growth Mindset Culture in Your Classroom? If so, join me as I welcome Annie Brock and Heather Huntley, authors of the Growth Mindset Coach 2nd Edition. They'll share realistic strategies for building a true growth mindset culture in your classroom, which are packed with practical, classroom-ready strategies that you can start using tomorrow.
Our goal is just to talk about how can you foster a growth mindset? How can you put yourself in that growth mindset or create an environment where kids can readily get into that mindset to help them make their learning as successful as possible.